Alright lads, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing something that likely affects a lot of people, and there is a few things that you can make it a lot easier for yourself. So today I'm going to be talking about when, just before you're about to go to sleep, you get these racing thoughts or this overthinking at night, and that can really stop you sleeping, mess up your sleep schedule, and cause you some anxiety as well. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about what will be causing these thoughts, and then hopefully give some advice on how you can help this and get better sleep and stop overthinking. So overthinking is when you have these racing thoughts in your head. They're not always negative ones, but a lot of the time they are. And this is because during the day we have so many different distractions from these negative thoughts that they're naturally going to come to light when we don't have anything else to think about. I think naturally a lot of people sort of shift towards these negative thoughts when they have that free time, because we like to focus on negative things because they're the things that are threatening our self-image, so we like to think about them and process them and sort of get over them. So what I'm talking about when I think of overthinking is this overstimulation of all your cognitive processes that are going on. So effectively your brain's working a lot harder than it should be at the time to process everything that's going on, and it's getting so stimulated, so excited that you're not able to reach this peaceful state of sleep where your body can shut down, your mind can shut down, and then begin to repair. And it's a bit of a vicious cycle when it comes to overstimulation, because we realise that we're overthinking everything and we can get quite agitated, and then that can lead to further like physical or physiological symptoms like a high heart rate or feeling really restless. And then that can make sleep even harder to achieve, and then it's a nightmare. But don't worry, here to help. So one way we can work on reducing this overthinking is to shift our attention to something we can control, or we have some form of control over. As I said in the last video, a lot of anxiety is based off the lack of control we have. So if we focus on something we can control, this can help reduce that anxiety and also those physiological symptoms of overstimulation that we're experiencing. For example, one way that I know a lot of people have tried, and something I do a lot of the time as well, is I focus on things I can control, such as my breathing, and that further affects our heart rate, which is also a really important part of that physiological activation that we need to avoid. So one that I often do is the 4-7-8 breathing technique, and it's quite easy. I hope you'll be able to understand it from this description, but if not, I'm going to put a link down below just to explain it maybe a little bit better. But all you do is you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 7 seconds. It's 4-7-8, isn't it? Yeah. Hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you breathe out for 8. And that can really help reduce those physiological symptoms you're experiencing, and it can also give you something else to think about rather than all of those anxious thoughts that you're currently trying to process. And by reducing those physiological symptoms and distracting yourself from those anxious thoughts, it can help calm you down and get you in a state where you're getting closer to be able to sleep. Something that I think a lot of people do that is actually counterproductive when they're overthinking is purposely laying there and trying to avoid the anxious thoughts themselves. There's a thing in psychology, it's not a very good way of saying it, paradigm in psychology called the white elephant effect, and that's where if you are actively told or you're actively trying to not think of something, you're more likely to start thinking about it. And this has implications in sport. Obviously you don't want to think of anxious thoughts, so you purposely try not to, and then you just get really anxious and then it goes wrong. But it can work in this sort of scenario as well, because if you're laying there with nothing else to think about, going, okay, stop thinking about this, stop thinking about this, by saying stop thinking about it, you're just constantly reminding yourself about it, and then you're just going to keep thinking it. Effectively, the goal is with these techniques is to reduce stimulation. It's not to stop the thoughts themselves, because by purposely trying to stop them, as I said, you're more likely to think about them. So just reducing that stimulation and giving something else to think about, you're not trying to stop thinking at all, because you're not going to be able to achieve that. You can't just turn off just like that until you're asleep. By giving something else to think about that's not stimulating you at all, or is not agitating you, it can help you sleep, help you calm down, All Gucci. So something else, or another method that I wanted to include, I guess, is the use of music. And I know I mentioned this in the last video, I am a music fan. But mood can actually really help when it comes to anxiety and those kind of thoughts, which obviously links to the last video, but also links to this video as well. As I said in the last video, it can really help create that mood that can align with how you're feeling. And effectively what you're trying to aim for when you're trying to sleep is this peaceful and calm mood, and again, no stimulation. If you haven't seen the video though, go check it out, mate. Yeah! So using music, you can create this calm and peaceful environment that your body can relax in, and it doesn't have to be agitated. You don't have these thoughts whirring around in your head. You also want to try and use music with no lyrics, because then you won't find yourself thinking about what they're saying. And also low volume, because you might have other people asleep in the house, and you also don't want to, you want your body to be able to shut down a little bit. You don't want to be taking in too much information. So just a faint music in the background can give you something to focus on. You want to almost be able to force yourself to listen to it. You don't want it to be all that's coming in. In fact, I will play you some of the music I listen to. And I think another thing which is important to talk about isn't especially talking about the anxiety thoughts themselves. It's talking about regulating those sleep hormones that actually let you physically sleep. So this can be done through sort of obvious things like exercising during the day, so you have burnt all this pent up energy that you've built throughout the day. But it's also avoiding exercise before you sleep. If you are performing high intensity exercise, it's been found that it makes it a lot harder to sleep. You get worse sleep. Also, naturally, healthy eating, making sure you're, not full at bedtime. So you want to avoid eating, I think it's an hour or an hour and a half before you sleep. But also making sure you're not hungry and making sure you've eaten well. You also want to be making sure that you avoid bright lights before you go to sleep. That includes your phone, because that activate hormones or receptors that make your body feel stimulated or awake. And also you want to avoid being in your bed throughout the whole day. You want to have this association between sleep in your bed rather than other activities in your bed, because that way when you get in bed, your body or your brain, I guess, realises that you're going to sleep, and it can start shutting down a lot easier. So in terms of those anxiety related thoughts, I think there is a lot of things you can do to help these. I think they're very unique to different people. For example, someone I know said that creating a list of all those bad things, all those anxiety thoughts, and just sort of throwing them away can really help get rid of them, I guess. And also creating a list of the good things or the things that you're grateful for. So when you are experiencing these sort of anxiety related thoughts, you can focus on the good things, which can sort of make you feel a lot better. But I think reducing those anxiety thoughts is really unique and independent to one person. You can obviously use those methods that I've given you to distract yourself at that time, and then maybe process them throughout the day. But I think in terms of the actual thoughts themselves coming up at night, I think distraction is the best way to go about it, in my opinion, because you don't want to especially be actually sorting these thoughts out. You want to be sleeping at that time, and then you can give yourself time the next day to think about them. So I think effectively what I'm trying to say is that these anxiety related overstimulating thoughts are perfectly natural, first of all. As I said in the last video, check it out, where there's so much unconscious anxiety at the moment, and it would be silly for us to think we're not going to experience some of that unconscious anxiety that we are experiencing. And second of all, it's not a case of avoiding those anxious thoughts. It's not a case of solving all your problems in bed just before you're trying to sleep. It's reducing that stimulation, reducing the speed of thinking by focusing on these other things or focusing on something else, creating that calm and peaceful environment that your body can relax in. So yeah, that's me. Sick, nice one. If anyone has any other suggestions, actually leave them in the comments, because then maybe other people can read them. Probably won't get any comments now, so that's embarrassing. But yeah, please, genuinely, it means a lot when people sort of like the videos and stuff, because I know I'm not doing this for a lot of views. I'm not doing it to gain clout. I'm doing it so I genuinely can help people. So when people like those videos, it shows me that it has helped them and it has done something for them, or at least educated them, I guess, a little bit. So it does mean a lot, and obviously subscribe and all that, because I want to reach a wider audience. I want to reach a wider audience so I can actually help more people, because there are so many people suffering from these kind of things that can be helped, or at least can help when you get educated about them. So yeah, that's me. Cheers lads, hope you enjoyed. Safe.